Next question. This person in the comment section says, "Love the videos. Could you do one about things like Meniere's disease or Meniere's disease?
It's Meniere's.
Meniere's disease or limitations of vertigo. I've been suffering from this for 2.5 years, as well as degenerative disc disease and knee and shoulder problems. Heavy construction past work all my life, and I'm 58 and a half years old. So this will be a good opportunity to talk about vertigo, like I was saying. We've talked a lot about degenerative disc disease and shoulder problems.
Sure.
But I don't know a whole lot about vertigo and I know what vertigo is, but I don't know what would be like the follow-up questions for the symptoms and stuff like that.
So Meniere's and vertigo are...
It's like an inner ear thing, right?
Right. They're vestibular disorders, which is your inner ear. Vertigo literally means that you would be having difficulties with balance. Meniere's would be the same thing. You'd kind of feel like you're swooshing. I mean, that's the word that is used. You know, it's kind of there's a swooshing in my head. Balance problems. People with horrible Meniere's walking from the living room to their bedroom, they're probably going to have to hug a wall.
Yeah.
You know, falls are very frequent in Meniere's. Now, vertigo. If you're diagnosed with vertigo, there's a good chance that your doctor is going to restrict you from driving, because vertigo, you could, fall out. I mean, you just whoa, you get so disoriented that if you're driving a car, you might wake up in a ditch.
Yeah.
So the way that we handle those is obviously the number one, and we hammer this, and I don't feel guilty about saying it all the time because it's so necessary. Medical records, your treatment records are the number one thing that we're going to be looking at. How frequently are you seeing your doctor for vertigo, or how frequently you're seeing them because of your Meniere's? Are you on medication? Is the medication helping you? Usually it's like an anti-nausea medication. So I don't know if it really necessarily helps with your balance and your disorientation, but you won't get sick to your stomach maybe. But what kind of medication, what kind of treatment, what kind of things do you avoid? Are you not driving anymore? The big thing is when we interview you, we'll probably, if you remember our headache or migraines podcast that we did, a diary is extremely helpful in these instances. And you got to think about that. And Social Security, for the most part, is pretty reasonable about, okay, well, they didn't go to an ER every time that they had balance problems. Well, no, because they don't have the $500 to pay the ER every time they walk in the door. So if they had balance problems and they caught themselves, or they were sick to their stomach, they just kind of stayed at home and, shut themselves up to where they were down, sitting down or lying down to where they wouldn't lose balance and fall and injure themselves. Don't go to the ER every time. Well, if that's the case, then we need some kind of documentation that it's happening, and that how frequently is it happening. Well, the way you do that, you just write it down. March 17th, I had another vertigo episode. Luckily, my wife was with me, and she caught me. I was about to fall. So diaries are very helpful. And again, you might think that that's kind of a Mickey Mouse approach to, proving your case. No, it's not. I mean, if I can provide Social Security, even up to a judge, with a diary that you've been keeping over the last 12, 18, 24 months, and I'm like, okay, well, my client has these bouts of vertigo, or has these balance problems from Meniere's, or these nausea episodes to where she's actually vomiting. They're having those 4 times a month. And the way that they deal with that is they're shutting themselves off. They're down. They're either sitting or lying down for 8 hours at a time. Could such a person work if you were going to be missing work 4 days a month? Nope.
Yeah.
You can't, that's 1 day a week, by the way. Nobody's going to hire you full time. So, well, I won't be coming in 1 day a week because I've got some medical problems, Or if you're working and you're missing 1 day a week, they're going to fire you.
Right.
So, yeah, good question, though. It's treatment notes are important, but it's not reasonable that you go to the ER, you go to the doctor every time you have a bout of vertigo, or when you're suffering from Meniere's. You're going to have some treatment records. You got to have those, but a diary is really the best documentation that we can have in those conditions.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Vertigo seems to be similar to things like headaches, migraines, and even seizures to an extent.
Sure.
Where there's not going to be like a specific test that's going to show that you have a headache, and you're not going to go to the hospital every time you have a headache.
Right.
So yeah, these diaries or keeping a journal, that's kind of what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, and you have to have the diagnosis. Like, if you have headaches and you're diagnosed with migraines, Social Security is going to expect, okay, with somebody with a diagnosis of migraines is going to have this, and they're going to have been prescribed this kind of medication, and they're going to have to shut themselves off in a cool, dark, quiet room. If you have dizzy problems, that's not as convincing as the actual diagnosis of Meniere's.
Yeah.
Or the actual diagnosis of vertigo. So medical records are important. It's just after that diagnosis has been made, Social Security, they're not unreasonable. Okay, well, they've had 4 bouts of this in the last month. I need to see 4 ER visits. No, that's unreasonable, and that's not going to happen.
If you have a question about your disability case, give us a call at 615-453-9151 Monday through Friday, or click the link in the description of this video.